Hi, this is Diane from Diane's Corner, and I'm down here on Main Street Belfield. And I was down here on Main Street a couple weeks ago when it was so very cold. And I was thinking today I'm going to doing a little more thinking about Lester Buckman, my dad's brother, and how Lester and Caroline. Now, Lester married his neighbor, Caroline Weiss. So that is kind of the branch I'm going to stay with today. And just want to honor that family because they've done so much for the Belfield community and just making the pioneer story come alive again. And this is Main Street today. Don't know if everybody can see it, but it's so nice outside today and so calm that I can take a little bit of extra time here over at the Lester and Caroline Buckman house. And so Lester was my dad's younger brother, and he was a Navy veteran. And so he married Caroline Weiss when he returned from World War II, and they became the parents of Nora, who was born in August 1948, and Austin was born in January 1950. Now I'm going to turn it around so you can see the house here. It was when it was forever kind of a pink, but now it was painted here and it looks like it's kind of a blue, but it was, there it is. Anyway, the majority of their lives, they lived right here, like I said, on Main Street. They didn't live that far from us, so Ruth and I would come down here and play with Nora and Austin in their nice backyard there. And Patsy Decker lived next door here. And we'd also play with some of the Deckers too, once in a while, because they had a playhouse. And it's pretty quiet here today. Oh, looks like there's a new shop building in the back of the old Decker house there. Well, anyway, we would play Monopoly by the days over here with Nora and Austin. Mainly Nora, though. But we'd sometimes play with Austin, too. And then Lester had a garden back there. And then next door is the Meduna house here. Oh, I better come a little bit away from that dog. But anyway, let's see. So Lester worked at the post office until he retired. And he worked with George Dietz and Florence LeDoux. And so they had a major involvement in church, school. Anyway, but now I'm going to go to the Weiss family, Caroline's background, because she came from, they lived a mile north of Belfield, the Weiss family. Now this comes from, some of this comes from the Stark County book. But Caroline's father, Martin Weiss, was from Austria. And Martin was orphaned at the age of 6, and an aunt raised him. And he joined the Austrian army. And in 1910, he homesteaded in Canada. Gee, we've got a lot of cars driving by Main Street here. That's good. Okay, so when he joined the Austrian army, then he got out of the army in 1910. He homesteaded in Canada. And then he later worked near Jamestown, North Dakota as a hired man on the Flohr farm, Flohr. Anyway, on the same farm, they had a hired girl. So they had a hired man and a hired girl. And didn't they fall in love? That was Alvina Meschke. And they got married. And after Martin and Alvina were married, they lived on various farms in the Badlands and Belfield area. And so they had 3 children, Bill, Caroline, and Joe. And I just got to stop here a moment because I don't know too many people from the Belfield Public School that graduated. All 3 children were valedictorians. So I just have to take a moment and think about situation of how how they produce such amazingly high honored students anyway. So, but the story of Alvina, I'm gonna come over here, see if I can, there, I can get a good view of what we're looking at here. There's a little story about Alvina I've got to share. She was a very good shooter. And Caroline relates this story about, she says, "Hurry up, there's a skunk after my chickens again." That's Mrs. Alvina talking. "Grabbing a loaded rifle, my mother charged into the yard, and after taking a careful aim at the intruder, dropping her shooting iron, and then she says, 'Good gravy, that's our old tomcat.' She shot their cat. Thought the cat was after the chickens. Maybe she was. But anyway, her mother had quite the experiences growing up in the Badlands as a Meschke. So she knew how, she told stories of killing rattlesnakes and the endless prairie, and well, she also talked about how she would skin the rattlesnakes and then tan their hides and make hat bands. So she had she had quite the experiences. So also I was gonna say that Martin Weiss came from Canada. He immigrated over to Canada from Austria in 1910. But anyway, they had Bill, Caroline, and Joe, and when they were living out in the Badlands, but when Bill was ready to go to school, they decided to live close to Belfield, so they bought that farm about a mile north of Belfield, and so he could get on the bus. It was on the bus route. It was located on Interstate 94 and Highway 85 there. So Caroline describes some of the hard times, and they were hard. Thumbing through old family records, she said, "I found my family borrowed the huge sum of $160 to plant a crop in the dirty 30s. Grasshoppers, blowing dirt, excessive heat, and cold were the daily diet. Baling wire, Russian thistles, seed loans, and shattered dreams piled up day by day. Then the rains came in 1938, and our lives brightened. A team of horses, a scraper, and my dad carved a huge dam in the pasture to hold the precious showers. Near our homestead, a shovel and my dad chopped a cistern out of the hard gray gumbo." So that is some of the description of how they lived day by day, trying to make a go of it. Well, Joe actually developed the farm, and he was able to do various grasses and seed wheat, cleaning wheat actually, out there. That's kind of what he did. And her brother Bill became a house mover over in Bismarck, and like I said, Caroline married Les Buckman. Now I wanted to mention her brother, Caroline's brother, Gus Meshke, who was the Meshkes did live in the Badlands there, and many stories about Gus Meshke are some, but one of the things I kind of wanted to show you was his The Best of Buffalo Stew. Some of his writings were put into a little book by my cousin Nora, so I thought this would be a good day to share maybe a little poem from some of his stuff from out in the Badlands there. I'm just really appreciative of this family and what they've really even given to the state of North Dakota, because out of this Meshke family became, one of the sons became a judge on the Supreme Court of North Dakota. So that's some of the stuff I could share. But anyway, here, That's a picture by Ted Cornell. Campfire Kitchen. When your kitchen smells like a campfire, it brings back memories of early days when you lift a lid to stick in more wood. You wonder why they've changed the ways. A roast in the oven that smells so good, or frying a steak in an old frying pan, coffee brewing in an old smoked up coffee pot. How good it tastes from an old rusty can. There's just isn't anything like home-baked bread, a delicious crust so crisp and brown, a slice with butter, and a big baked apple that you can enjoy without a frown. Orange crates and apple boxes for furniture, a table made from rough pine boards. The walls are covered with old newspapers. Then came the vintage 1910 Model T Fords. And I was going to show you a picture here of Caroline's brother Gus. Yeah, there it is. They made their footprints around town, and their fingerprints too here. Oh, there. Herbert Meschke was a Supreme Court judge for the state of North Dakota. Thank you, Linda. Now I remember his name was Herb. Yep. So Gus Meschke, I think Nora might have written this. You knew him by his hat. It was one of those high crown hats that any little boy's imagination would say must have watered many a thirsty horse. The hat had apparently been white when new, but prairie dust and honest sweating had turned it the earthy colors of an unpaved country road. The brim still maintains stubbornly and proudly the slight curl that every cowboy strives for and trains. He had big hands, and I remember that about Martin too. Martin had big hands. They were hands that could convey genuine love to a big old plug of a plow horse, as well as to a tiny fuzzy kitten, still blind with newness. Those hands worked the land for 8 decades, hard work that would today discourage lesser men. Those same hands wrote, too, bits of poetry that brightened the days and lives for country people who didn't know Lord Byron from Cicero. It wasn't poetry that would have impressed a city-bred, city-educated philosopher. Sometimes the meter was less than perfect, but it had such wonderful, intense feeling and warm, gentle humor that his readers needed nothing else. The man was remarkably well-read. He subscribed to 15 different newspapers, some from as far away as Australia. His columns usually included bits and pieces from some of those faraway places. He was known to stay up the best part of the night reading, absorbing knowledge and information like a sponge. And he had a nickname. It incorporated all the goodness, sense of humor, and ornery individualism that characterized the man. Some folks knew the colorful details of the incident that gave birth to the nickname. Others tried to embellish the story to the level of a dramatic Wild West tale, but sensationalism would have turned him off. He loved peace and quiet. He loved the country towns and neighbors where he lived. And those who knew him loved him too. Some called him simply Grandpa or Uncle Gus. Many others knew him dearly as Buffalo Stew. Gus Meshke was such a warm, vital, alive part of our community that we feel a real emptiness in his absence. We miss him. And that is true. He was ill character, that's for sure. And here's a picture of Ted Cornell, who did the different drawings in the book. There's a kind of a nice picture of a wolf there. So those were the Badlands cowboys there. The best of Buffalo Stew. I don't know. His poetry is so cute. Children of the Plains, that would be a good one. It is with great pleasure I look for your letters, which are so typical of home life to me. They make life on the wide plains seem so real, the storms and blizzards so vicious to see. Children going to school along a grassy lane, chatting and joking about their work for today, watching the birds as they flutter and fly, and picking some flowers that grow by the way. It's a scene to behold to see them walking to school, holding little sister by a chubby little hand. They are so carefree as they scamper along, a scene on the plains in a glorious land. One could go on, verse after verse, and never begin to do justice to a child. They reflect the life we all cherish so much, and nature has created so tender and mild. Isn't that sweet? Well, I'm just thanking the dear Lord for Uncle Lester and Aunt Caroline and the lives that were shared by the Weiss family and the Meschke family too. They're all part of our community of Belfield. Let's see. There's Main Street in Belfield. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Have a good day. Bye now.